facial recognition on 430 airports, the US rejoins UNESCO, and the most important, low-key power figure to watch out for in AI. You're watching the AI Report. Let's get into it. So let's start with the most concerning AI news in the last few months, in my opinion. TSA will implement facial recognition technology in over 430 airports over the next few years. The technology will scan a person's face and then see if it matches with the person's biometric passport. Supposedly, the program doesn't store facial data. That sounds kinda dirty, facial data. Look, the balance between freedom and security is a topic not just for another video, but probably for another channel as well. I can't say I enjoy airport security, and it really annoys me that as a person from a, third world country essentially, my freedom of movement is already extremely limited. But also, I can't say that there should be no airport security at all. I love that when Nicolas Cage saved the day in Con Air, but I lack the training to handle an airplane hostage situation. Obviously, we all want safe flights. Also, this program may make the job of airport security personnel easier, and it may result in fewer body cavity checks. My problem here is that this sounds a lot like something China would do. I guess countries need to track the movement of people, and they should bother 99% of law-abiding citizens just so that they can slightly increase the chances of catching the 1% of criminals. But at some point, the costs start to outweigh the benefits. The program has a 97% accuracy rate. That means 3 out of 100 people will have problems with it, and in some cases, those problems will be very annoying for people who've practically done nothing wrong. I don't know. I just don't like the feel of this so far. The scans should be voluntary, however, at least for the time being, so maybe that's not such a bad thing. New developments with Twitter. Yesterday I talked about Twitter's new policy of requiring users to log in to view tweets, and later that day, Iron Man introduced a few other limits. Verified accounts are limited to reading 6,000 posts per day. Unverified accounts can read 600 posts per day, and new unverified accounts can read 300 posts per day. 6,000 tweets a day? What are people doing out there? Does anybody go outside anymore? Anyway, yeah, a pretty strategic move here by Elon, man. This pulls the rug from under OpenAI and other AI companies by limiting their access to data, and also slows down automation and bot activity. Turns out, in the age of AI, data is the new oxygen, but not just any data. Human-generated data is the good stuff. The US comes back to the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO. One of the main reasons for the comeback is to prevent China and Russia and other dictatorial regimes to control the narrative on AI policies. 5 years ago, Trump pulled back from UNESCO because he thought the US was covering most of the expenses for the organization while not getting a lot in return. Well, no matter what you think of Trump, I believe we can all agree that international diplomacy was not his strongest side. If the US wants to be a global leader, maybe it should buy the first few rounds. And not even having a seat on the table can't be a good move. Okay, your opinion on organizations like this probably depends on your taste for globalist conspiracy theories. You can hear all sorts of things about these organizations, but in general, they do promote diplomatic dialogue between countries. And as mature people may know, diplomacy often prevents wars, and leadership happens through influence, through communication. Getting out of the UNESCO was a mistake on the part of the US, and getting back in is the right move here. Obviously, China and Russia tried to block the US's return, but they failed. The US now has a $600 million debt to settle, and that may sound a lot initially, but it's just 0.1% of the US defense budget. I think 0.1% less spending on drones and investing in diplomacy and global thought leadership is smart. In a report by Global Advisory Board Tortoise, Saudi Arabia ranked first in government strategy for AI. What got them the trophy is the establishment of the National Strategy for Data and AI, a dedicated government authority for AI, allocation of funding for AI initiatives, etc. I guess they're finally putting those oil money to good use. Maybe they will even come up with an AI that will advise them to let women drive. An AI-based theory may explain why you dream of giant cats firing lasers out of their eyes. The theory is called the overfitted brain hypothesis, developed by Eric Hoyle. It suggests that dreaming is the brain's attempt to generalize our experiences, similar to how randomness must be used to teach computers how to recognize real-world data. So now we're using AI to understand humans better. How ironic. Nvidia acquires OmniML, a startup that shrinks machine learning models. This is probably a move toward putting AI on smaller devices, which will be used in cars and robots. Nvidia were always a tech giant, but they seem really to be crushing it in this AI wave. Speaking of companies that are crushing it in AI, Palantir has seen their stock more than double in year 1 BC. Oh, by the way, that's how we measure the beginning of time and the age of AI. BC means before ChatGPT, AC means after ChatGPT. In case you're not familiar with Palantir, it allows users to input tons of data into the system, and then Palantir's AI provides insight on what they should do next. The product is not only used by huge corporations, but by governments as well. In fact, it's mostly governments that use it. Using Palantir costs about $100,000 a month, so, better break the piggy bank if you want to try it out. There's a lot of debate going on about whether Palantir stock is overvalued or undervalued. That's not what I want to talk about you here. I just want to suggest you guys learn from Palantir's founder, Peter Thiel. Many of you know about him, especially if you're in the Silicon Valley bubble, but I assume most of you don't. So for starters, he's part of the PayPal mafia, Elon's old crew, one of the first investors in Facebook, Stripe, SpaceX, bets early on Ethereum, although I think now he's backed out of it and has sold his crypto. He was the only Silicon Valley power figure who thought that Trump would win the first election. He kinda has a track record of being a successful contrarian. He's often right when the crowd is wrong. His masterpiece is Palantir, one of the biggest AI companies out there currently, and he's also buddies with Sam Altman. If you haven't read his book 0 to 1, you are missing out. Today he's worth about $5 billion. In my opinion, he's one of the smartest entrepreneurs of our time, but he's also very, very controversial. He used to be somewhat of a mysterious, lowish profile figure, although I think he's a bit more vocal these days. The reason I bring him up is because I think he always makes the right bets. He's kind of a secretive figure, but I think you can learn a lot from him if you pay a little attention to his moves, especially when it comes to emerging technologies. I mean, the guy founded Palantir like 20 years ago. He was so much ahead of his time, and most people haven't even heard of him. He doesn't really have social media, so you can't really hear his daily thoughts on matters too often, but watch what Palantir does and watch out for the occasional news piece or video that features him, and I think you will have a better insight into where things are going. I'll leave my favorite video of him in the description, and go check it out after this. And finally, The Verge did a poll on 2,000 people about AI. Some very interesting observations here. Did you know that 43% of the 2,000 people haven't even heard of ChatGPT, and just 1 in 3 people have tried any AI tool? Give yourself a nice tap on the back for watching this video. You're officially an early adopter. However, even though few people use AI, that doesn't seem to prevent them to have strong opinions on it. 74% believe that AI will have a strong impact on our lives. Out of the people who've used AI tools, between 50 and 60% think that AI helped their work when it comes to writing emails, essays, articles, blogs, stories, coding, art, and music. And between 4 and 11% think it did the opposite of helping them. Around 76% of people want rational laws and regulations, fact-check data sets for training models, AI-generated content to be labeled as such, and creating deepfakes of people without their consent to be illegal. That sounds pretty good actually. Now, 51% of people think that AI will become sentient at some point, and 64% of people see nothing wrong with companies pursuing this. Okay, if the surveyed people are a fair representation of the population, it seems like the public is mostly on board with this AI thing. People are generally optimistic about AI, and that's the way it is. That was the AI report. Guys, come on. There was a lot of value packed in this video. Hot takes on important matters, secretive billionaires to learn from, a few possibly solid jokes. Come on, hit those like and subscribe buttons. You know it's the right thing to do. I'll see you tomorrow.